She built the drone from cheap parts ordered online. They all laughed when the tiny homemade aircraft was placed next to military-grade UAVs worth millions. But those laughs turned to stunned silence when her single drone destroyed an entire enemy supply line that had eluded detection for months. This is what happened next. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Maya Rodriguez, 26 years old, Hispanic American heritage. 5 feet 4 inches tall, with bright, curious eyes, behind rectangular glasses and hands constantly stained with solder burns and epoxy residue. A computer science graduate who spent more time in maker spaces than classrooms, now working as a junior systems analyst at the prestigious Advanced Warfare Technology Center, hidden deep in the Arizona desert. The morning sun beat down mercilessly, turning the testing grounds into a furnace of sand and heat mirages. The air shimmered above the cracked earth, creating optical illusions that could fool even the most sophisticated targeting systems. Elite drone operators from across all military branches had assembled here: Air Force remote piloting specialists, Army drone tactical units, Navy unmanned systems experts, and private defense contractors with security clearances higher than most generals. They gathered for the ultimate challenge in drone warfare simulation, intercepting and neutralizing a moving supply convoy that utilized advanced counter-surveillance techniques, the kind employed by sophisticated adversaries in modern conflict. Zones. The convoy would follow unpredictable routes through a massive testing area, using terrain features, electronic countermeasures, and thermal masking to remain hidden. Maya arrived carrying a battered laptop bag over one shoulder and a specialized hard case that looked like it had survived multiple cross-country road trips. Her bright yellow Robot Wars Champion 2023 t-shirt stood out vividly against the sea of tactical gear and military uniforms surrounding her. Her curly black hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, with a few escaped strands constantly falling across her face despite her frequent attempts to tuck them behind her ears. In this environment of military precision and cutting-edge technology, she moved with the casual confidence of someone completely comfortable with being different. While others stood at attention or networked in tight professional circles, Maya sat cross-legged on the ground, her laptop balanced on her knees, typing rapidly with the focused intensity of someone completely absorbed in their work. A group of drone operators from a prominent defense contractor noticed her solitary setup and approached with the swagger of men who believed their multi-million-dollar equipment made them untouchable. "Hey there, computer girl, you might want to move. This area is for actual drone teams with actual military hardware," said one operator, his voice carrying the unmistakable tone of someone who enjoyed the sound of his own authority. Maya glanced up briefly, offered a polite smile, then returned to her screen without comment. This only seemed to irritate the man further. "What's that, your senior project from community college?" Another operator chimed in, pointing at the hard case beside her. The group erupted in laughter when Maya finally opened the case to reveal what looked like a homemade drone cobbled together from off-the-shelf components, 3D printed parts, and what appeared to be modified racing drone motors. "That's your entry? Seriously? That thing looks like it belongs in a high school science fair, not a military testing ground," the first man said, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Our Predator X9 costs $7 million and can stay airborne for 48 hours while carrying multiple payload options." Maya continued her pre-flight checks, carefully inspecting each component of her drone with methodical precision. The device was unlike anything the military contractors had seen before, smaller than standard military drones, with an unusual configuration that didn't match any known design specs. While most military drones emphasized either endurance or payload capacity, Maya's creation seemed built for something else entirely. I think she's confused. This isn't a toy drone racing competition, another contractor said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. This is military-grade testing for actual combat deployment systems. The laughter spread, drawing attention from other teams who wandered over to see what the commotion was about. Soon a small crowd had gathered, most joining in the mockery, making exaggerated bets on how quickly her drone would crash or simply fail to launch. However, one person wasn't laughing. Colonel Sarah Blackwood, 30-year veteran of multiple conflicts and current director of the Unmanned Combat Systems Division, observed the scene from a distance. Her weathered face remained expressionless, but her eyes narrowed slightly as she watched Maya work, noting the young woman's unusual modifications to standard drone architecture. "That's not a typical configuration," she muttered to her aide, a young lieutenant who looked confused by her interest. "Look at those custom sensor packages and the propulsion system layout. That's not random tinkering." The testing range featured a massive 50-square-mile area of varied terrain, desert flats, rocky outcroppings, dry riverbeds, and small clusters of buildings designed to simulate urban environments. Somewhere within this expanse, a convoy of 8 vehicles would be moving continuously, employing every counter-detection measure in the book. The convoy's commander, a former Special Forces operator with extensive experience evading detection in hostile territory, had never been defeated in 17 previous exercises. One by one, the teams launched their drones, massive military-grade UAVs with the latest in optical, infrared, and signal intelligence gathering capability. Millions of dollars of technology took to the skies, controlled by operators with thousands of hours of training and combat experience. Each team had their own strategy. Some focused on systematic grid searches, others targeted likely routes based on previous patterns, while some deployed multiple drones to cover maximum territory. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. When Maya's turn came, the mockery reached its peak. "Make sure you get that thing on video before it crashes. It'll make great content for our failure compilation," shouted one of the contractors, holding up his phone to record what everyone expected to be an embarrassing disaster. A senior military official approached Maya with a skeptical expression. "Ms. Rodriguez, I need to verify that your device meets the minimum safety requirements for this exercise. We can't have unauthorized equipment creating hazards in controlled airspace." Maya nodded politely. "Of course, sir. My drone has triple redundant control systems, emergency return to base programming, and automatic collision avoidance. Specs are all in my submission package." The official looked doubtful but reluctantly nodded. "You understand the parameters of this exercise? You have 90 minutes to locate and simulate neutralizing a moving convoy employing advanced counter-detection measures." "Yes, sir. I understand completely," Maya replied, her voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had been underestimated many times before. Unlike the other teams with their elaborate control stations and multiple operator setups, Maya had only her laptop and a small controller that looked suspiciously like a modified gaming controller. There was no co-pilot, no sensor specialist, no communications expert. Just one young woman with a homemade drone and a determined expression. When she launched her drone, the first surprise came. Instead of the loud buzzing noise typical of quadcopters or the distinctive whine of military UAVs, Maya's drone rose almost silently, its custom motors and unique propeller design creating minimal noise signature. The second surprise was its speed. The small craft accelerated with shocking agility, quickly becoming a tiny speck in the vast desert sky. "Probably heading straight for the nearest rock to crash into," laughed one of the contractors. "Those consumer-grade navigation systems can't handle this kind of terrain." Maya ignored the comments completely, her focus entirely on her laptop screen. which displayed not standard drone camera footage but complex data visualizations that made little sense to the few curious onlookers who glanced over her shoulder. 30 minutes into the exercise, none of the professional teams had located the convoy. Their drones crisscrossed the testing range in increasingly desperate patterns, using every sensing technology available without success. Frustration mounted as team leaders barked orders at their operators, demanding more systematic searches and better utilization of their equipment. Colonel Blackwood moved between the teams, observing their methods without comment, though her expression grew increasingly grim as the exercise continued without results. When she passed by Maya, still sitting alone with her laptop, she paused momentarily, noting with interest that the young woman's screen now displayed what appeared to be a topographical map with a specific route highlighted, 45 minutes. In the atmosphere at the command center had grown tense. Major defense contracts and military careers hung in the balance of this demonstration, and so far, the results were embarrassing. The convoy had completely evaded detection from some of the most sophisticated unmanned aerial systems ever developed. Then something unexpected happened. Maya stood up calmly, closed her laptop, and approached the main command station where Colonel Blackwood and several high-ranking officials monitored the exercise. "Excuse me, Colonel," she said quietly, her voice almost lost in the busy command center. "I've located the convoy and completed the simulated neutralization of all 8 vehicles." The command center fell silent, every head turning toward the young woman who had just made such an outlandish claim. The silence lasted several seconds before breaking into dismissive laughter. "Right, and I'm the Secretary of Defense," said one official, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Return to your station, Miss Rodriguez. This isn't the time for jokes." Colonel Blackwood, however, didn't laugh. "What's your evidence, Ms. Rodriguez?" Maya handed over a small USB drive. "Full tracking data for the entire convoy, including timestamp verification, heat signatures, and confirmation of simulated payload delivery. I've also included the convoy's projected route for the next hour, based on their current pattern." With skepticism evident on every face, the command team inserted the drive into their system. The main display screen suddenly filled with crystal clear imagery of 8 vehicles, moving information through a rocky ravine that provided almost perfect cover from conventional aerial surveillance. The footage was remarkable, not just for having found the convoy, but for the quality of the images captured from a supposedly amateur drone. But the real shock came when they reviewed the targeting data. Maya's drone hadn't just found the convoy. It had systematically identified each vehicle's type and purpose, prioritized the high-value targets, and executed a simulated precision strike that would have neutralized the entire supply line in less than 2 minutes. "This is impossible," muttered one of the military analysts, scrolling through the data with increasing disbelief. "These sensor readings can't be coming from commercial components. And this targeting algorithm is more advanced than anything we've developed." The convoy commander's voice suddenly crackled over the radio. "Command, this is Convoy Actual. We've received the simulation alerts. All 8 vehicles have been tagged as neutralized. Requesting confirmation this is part of the exercise protocol. Over." The command center erupted into chaos. Officials huddled around monitors, technicians frantically verified data, and the team leaders from the major defense contractors stared at Maya with expressions ranging from suspicion to outright hostility. "How did you do this?" demanded the leader of the defense contractor team that had been the loudest in mocking her. "What kind of tricks are you pulling? There's no way that toy drone could outperform our military-grade systems." Maya said nothing, her expression calm as she waited for Colonel Blackwood to finish reviewing the data. Finally, the colonel looked up, her eyes meeting Maya's with new understanding. "Ms. Rodriguez, I believe we need to have a conversation in private." "Lieutenant, secure conference room 3. No recording devices, no additional personnel." She turned to the still stunned officials. "This demonstration is concluded. All teams are to stand down and prepare for debriefing." As Maya followed Colonel Blackwood toward the facility building, she passed by the group of contractors who had ridiculed her drone. Their expressions had transformed from mockery to confusion to something approaching fear. One of them reached out to block her path. "What's really going on here? Who are you working for?" he demanded, his voice low and intense. Maya paused, looking at him with a small, enigmatic smile. "I'm just a girl with a drone kit," she said softly, before continuing on her way, leaving behind a group of men whose entire understanding of their technological superiority had been shattered in the span of 45 minutes. Inside the secure conference room, Colonel Blackwood dismissed her aide and activated the room's electronic countermeasures, ensuring their conversation would remain completely private. The room fell into a heavy silence as advanced jamming systems created a cocoon of security around them. "Your drone employed sensing technology that doesn't exist in the civilian sector," the colonel said finally, her voice matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. "And your targeting algorithms demonstrated capabilities that exceed our current classified systems. So I'll ask you once, and I expect complete honesty. Who are you really, Maya Rodriguez?" Maya's demeanor shifted subtly. The somewhat awkward computer specialist disappeared, replaced by someone with the poised confidence of a person accustomed to high-pressure situations. When she removed her glasses, her eyes revealed a depth of experience that belied her young age. "My name really is Maya Rodriguez," she said, her voice now carrying a quiet authority that hadn't been present before. "But until 14 months ago, I was designated Phoenix Echo, operational specialist with the Autonomous Systems Development Group under Project Nightshade." Colonel Blackwood's expression remained neutral, but her posture stiffened slightly. Nightshade was terminated. All personnel were reassigned and all prototypes were allegedly destroyed. "Officially, yes," Maya agreed with a slight nod. "Just like officially, I'm a junior systems analyst with a background in computer science and robotics competitions." She leaned forward slightly. "But we both know official records don't always reflect operational reality, Colonel." The colonel studied Maya for a long moment before pulling a secure tablet from her briefcase. After entering a complex passcode, she turned the screen toward Maya. On it was a classified intelligence report with a timestamp from 3 years earlier. "Autonomous drone strike, Khandesh Province, Afghanistan. Neutralization of high value. Target and entire support team despite advanced counter-surveillance measures and electronic warfare defenses. No attribution possible. Suspected Tier 1 special operations with cutting-edge technology." The colonel looked up from the report. But there was no Tier 1 operation in that region on that date. No conventional drones in the area either. Maya said nothing, her expression giving away nothing. The drone employed that day used a noise reduction system that made it virtually undetectable by acoustic sensors. It utilized a multispectral imaging system that could defeat thermal masking. And it executed a precision strike pattern that eliminated all targets within a 93-second window. The colonel's eyes never left Maya's face. "Sound familiar?" Project Nightshade developed technologies that were deemed too advanced for current operational frameworks, Maya said carefully. The official determination was that autonomous systems with that level of capability posed potential ethical and command control challenges that existing protocols couldn't adequately address. So the project was shut down, the technology mothballed, and the team dispersed, the colonel finished. Except apparently not all the technology was destroyed. Maya smiled slightly. "The drone I flew today is my own design, built with commercially available components. But yes, certain algorithms and operational concepts might bear some resemblance to previous work. You deliberately created a demonstration that would expose your capabilities," the colonel stated. "Why?" You must have known this would attract attention you've presumably been avoiding for over a year. Maya was quiet for a moment, considering her words carefully. Sometimes the most effective way to address a threat is to demonstrate a capability without fully revealing its source or extent. Today's exercise was observed by representatives from every branch of the military and major defense contractors. By tomorrow, word will spread that conventional drone surveillance systems were completely outperformed by seemingly impossible technology, creating pressure to re-examine the decision to terminate Nightshade, the colonel concluded. Clever, but extremely risky for you personally. Maya shrugged slightly. Some risks are worth taking when the alternative is watching superior technology sit unused while threats evolve. The convoy today was a simulation. Real adversaries aren't playing games. Colonel Blackwood leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. What happens now, Ms. Rodriguez? You've made quite an impression, but you've also exposed yourself to significant scrutiny. Now, Maya said with quiet confidence, we wait to see who understands what really happened today. The smart ones will recognize that the technology demonstrated represents capabilities that could fundamentally change asymmetric warfare. The others will be too busy protecting their contracts and their egos to see the bigger picture. And which category do you place me in? The colonel asked with a hint of a smile. Maya studied the older woman carefully. I think you understood what you were seeing the moment I launched. That's why you've been watching me since I arrived. The colonel nodded slowly. The modified propulsion system was my first clue. No one designs thrust vectoring that way unless they're intimately familiar with advanced UAV dynamics. But I didn't connect all the dots until I saw the targeting data. She stood up, signaling the end of their private conversation. For now, Ms. Rodriguez, you'll return to your position as a systems analyst. Your demonstration today will be classified as a security test of existing systems, authorized at the highest levels. No official record will indicate otherwise. As they prepared to leave the secure room, the colonel paused with her hand on the door. One last question. The drone today, was it the same one from Kandesh? Maya smiled, a genuine expression that briefly made her look exactly like the young computer enthusiast she appeared to be. No, Colonel, that one was much better. When they emerged from the conference room, the atmosphere in the command center had changed dramatically. The mockery was gone, replaced by wary respect and intense curiosity. The contractors who had ridiculed Maya now avoided making eye contact, clustering together in defensive groups as they tried to understand how their multi-million-dollar systems had been so thoroughly outperformed. News of what had happened spread quickly, though the official explanation that Maya's drone had been part of a planned security test satisfied no one. Those with sufficient clearance levels began making discreet inquiries about Project Nightshade, only to encounter classified barriers and redacted documents at every turn. But in quiet conversations in secure facilities across the defense establishment, a single question began to circulate with increasing urgency. Who exactly was Maya Rodriguez, and what else might she be capable of developing? Have you ever witnessed someone completely transform how they're perceived with a single demonstration of exceptional skill? Type I saw it happen if you've experienced this moment of revelation when hidden talent suddenly becomes visible. As Maya gathered her equipment and prepared to leave the testing ground, her phone chimed with a message notification. The sender was listed only as N Command, and the message contained just 5 words: Phoenix Echo, reactivation protocol initiated. She glanced up at the clear blue Arizona sky, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Sometimes being underestimated was the greatest tactical advantage of all. 2 weeks after the dramatic demonstration that had stunned military drone experts, Maya sat in her small apartment, surrounded by components spread across every available surface. Circuit boards, soldering equipment, specialized tools, and half-assembled. Drone parts covered her dining table, coffee table, and most of the floor. Her walls were plastered with technical diagrams and handwritten equations, living space transformed into a private development lab. The reactivation protocol hadn't meant rejoining any official military program. Instead, it signaled something. More important, her former team from Project Nightshade was reassembling, unofficially and without government sanction. They operated now in the shadows, connected through encrypted channels, each member contributing specialized expertise. From their civilian cover jobs, Maya's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. Supply line intelligence confirmed. Coordinates incoming. Operational window 72 hours. Phoenix authorization requested. She stared at the message for a long moment, understanding its full implications. This wasn't a test or a demonstration. This was a real-world mission against a high-value target that conventional forces couldn't touch due to political constraints, deniability requirements, or technological limitations. While reviewing the intelligence briefing that followed, Maya's focus was drawn to a specific detail: a terrorist supply route moving critical materials through a mountain pass considered impossible to effectively monitor due to severe electromagnetic interference, complex terrain, and advanced counter-surveillance systems. Conventional drones had repeatedly failed to maintain surveillance, let alone execute precision strikes. The perfect challenge for what she had been building. Unlike the drone she'd used at the Arizona demonstration, the aircraft taking shape in her apartment was far more sophisticated, where the demonstration model had incorporated enough advanced technology to prove a point while still appearing somewhat conventional. This drone represented the true culmination of Project Nightshade's research, a fully autonomous system capable of operating in environments specifically designed to defeat unmanned surveillance. Maya worked through the night, her fingers moving with practiced precision as she completed the final calibrations on the drone's unique sensor package. This wasn't conventional technology. It represented an entirely new approach to overcoming counter-surveillance measures, developed during her time with Nightshade, but refined considerably in the months since. At 3:47 a.m., her secure phone rang, a rare occurrence that immediately signaled something urgent. "Phoenix Echo," she answered, using her operational designation rather than her name. "They found you." The voice belonged to Dr. Alan Kaminsky, former technical director of Project Nightshade, now working as a university professor. Defense Intelligence Agency has been asking questions about the Arizona demonstration. They're connecting dots. We can't afford to have connected. Maya felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. How close? Too close. Your demonstration created exactly the attention we wanted, but from some people we didn't anticipate. There's a specialized counterintelligence team being assembled. Their mission parameters suggest they believe the technology displayed represents a potential security breach rather than an advancement. Timeline? 24 hours, maybe less, before they secure authorization to bring you in for questioning. After that, your apartment will be searched, your equipment confiscated, and any operational capability we currently have will be compromised. Maya looked at the nearly completed drone on her workbench. "I need 8 more hours to finish the coup. Integration and run final checks." "You have 6, Kaminsky replied grimly. "The operation has been accelerated. Launch window opens at 0900 hours. This is our only chance to prove what the technology can do before it's buried again." After ending the call, Maya moved with focused intensity, her hands steady despite the pressure. What should have been careful, methodical work became a race against time, each component requiring perfect integration without the luxury of extensive testing. By dawn, her apartment had been transformed. All personal items were packed away, surfaces wiped clean, and any trace of her work methodically removed. The only evidence of her true activities was the drone itself, now sealed in a specialized transport case disguised as audio equipment. The cover story being that she worked weekends as a sound engineer for local events. As she prepared to leave, Maya paused at her window, noticing an unmarked sedan parked across the street that hadn't been there the previous evening. They were already watching her. The countdown had begun. Instead of panic, Maya felt a strange calm settle over her. She'd been trained for exactly this scenario, operating under surveillance, executing critical missions while maintaining plausible deniability. This was why Nightshade operatives had been selected in the first place, individuals capable of extraordinary technical achievement who could also function under extreme pressure. She left her apartment through the main entrance, transport case in hand, nodding casually to the building's security guard. The surveillance team made no move. To stop her, they were gathering intelligence, not executing an arrest. Not yet. Maya headed not toward any sensitive location, but to a local coffee shop, where she ordered a latte and sat at an outdoor table, appearing to enjoy the morning sun while occasionally checking her phone like any other young professional. Starting their day. The sedan remained at a distance, its occupants maintaining visual contact without approaching. At precisely 8:15 a.m., she received a text message that appeared to be about a sound system set up for an event. This was the signal. Her extraction was in place. 15 minutes later, a van with elite sound and lighting graphics pulled up to the coffee shop. A man in a company uniform approached Maya. "Ms. Rodriguez? We're ready for the equipment pickup for today's event." The exchange was perfectly ordinary, a young woman handing over audio equipment to a service company representative. The surveillance team observed but had no cause for intervention. The van departed with Maya's special cargo, heading not to any event venue but to a private airstrip outside the city limits. Maya remained at the coffee shop, finishing her drink before walking to a nearby bus stop. She boarded a cross-town bus, then transferred to another, executing a series of movements designed to determine the extent of the surveillance. The unmarked sedan followed at a distance, its occupants maintaining visual contact but taking no action. At 10:30 a.m., Maya entered a large downtown shopping mall, disappearing into the crowds of weekend shoppers. By the time her surveillance team realized she had vanished, she was already in the back of a delivery truck heading out of the city. At the private airstrip, the drone had been carefully transferred from its transport case to a specialized launch vehicle. Dr. Kaminsky personally oversaw the final systems check, his experienced hands moving over the aircraft with practiced precision. "Power cell integration complete," he confirmed as Maya arrived. "Autonomous navigation systems online. Sensor package fully operational." Maya approached the drone, running her hand gently over its sleek surface. Unlike conventional military drones with their visible weapon systems and intimidating profiles, this aircraft was deceptively elegant, its advanced capabilities hidden within a streamlined design that emphasized stealth over intimidation. "The mission parameters have been updated," Kaminsky said, handing her a secure tablet. "Target is moving earlier than anticipated. Launch window is now 30 minutes. Maya reviewed the intelligence briefing quickly, absorbing the critical details. The supply line they were targeting moved weapons and explosives to support terrorist operations across 3 countries. Conventional military forces had tried and failed to intercept it multiple times, always defeated by the combination of sophisticated counter-surveillance technology and extremely challenging terrain. "What's our success probability?" she asked, already knowing the answer would be low. "Based on simulation models, 37% chance of complete mission success," Kaminsky replied without sugar-coating the odds. 63% probability of partial target acquisition, but incomplete neutralization." Maya nodded, accepting the reality of what they were attempting. That's 37% better than any conventional system has managed. As final preparations continued, Maya connected her custom controller to the drone's systems. Unlike the demonstration in Arizona, this mission would push the technology to its absolute limits. The targeting zone was a narrow mountain pass surrounded by sheer cliffs that created unpredictable wind patterns and severe electromagnetic interference. Conventional drones couldn't maintain stable flight paths in such conditions, let alone execute precision strikes. Satellite uplink confirmed, called out another team member, a former Nightshade communications specialist now working for a civilian telecommunications company. We have our window, but it's narrow, 19 minutes of coverage before the satellite moves beyond optimal range. The team moved with quiet efficiency, each person focusing on their specialized role. What might have appeared chaotic to an outside observer was actually a precisely choreographed operation, the result of thousands of hours of training and shared experience. At T-5 minutes, Maya initiated the final launch sequence. Unlike the demonstration drone, this aircraft incorporated technology that had never been publicly acknowledged: adaptive artificial intelligence that could make split-second adjustments to flight parameters based on environmental conditions too complex for human operators to manage in real time. Phoenix Echo, this is Control, Kaminsky's voice came through her earpiece. Be advised, satellite intelligence shows increased activity at the target location. They may have accelerated their timeline in response to regional security operations. Understood, Maya replied, her focus absolute as she completed the pre-launch checks. Adjusting intercept parameters now. As the countdown reached 0, the drone lifted off with an eerie silence, its advanced propulsion system producing almost no sound despite the tremendous power being generated. It ascended rapidly, quickly disappearing into the clear blue sky. Unlike conventional drone operations where pilots maintained constant control, Maya's role now shifted to mission oversight. The autonomous systems would handle the complex navigation and target acquisition, with human intervention required only for final authorization of lethal force, a critical ethical boundary the Nightshade team had insisted upon despite pressure to develop fully autonomous weapons. The operations center fell into focused silence as tracking systems displayed the drone's progress. Moving at over 200 miles per hour, it would reach the target zone in just under 40 minutes. During that time, Maya and her team monitored every aspect of the aircraft's performance, ready to intervene if any system showed signs of compromise. At T+22 minutes, the first challenge emerged. The drone encountered an unexpected weather system, a localized storm that hadn't appeared on meteorological forecasts. Conventional drones would have been forced to divert or abort, but the Nightshade aircraft adjusted automatically, its AI systems calculating a new approach vector that actually utilized the storm's updrafts to conserve power. "That's impressive," murmured one of the newer team members, watching the telemetry data with wide eyes. "The efficiency algorithms are adapting in real time." Maya nodded but remained focused on the mission parameters. Weather adaptation was expected functionality. The real test would come when they reached the target zone. At T+36 minutes, the drone entered the mountain pass where conventional surveillance had consistently failed. Immediately, warning indicators flashed across the control screens. Electromagnetic interference 70% stronger than anticipated, wind shear approaching critical thresholds, and scattered readings suggesting active counter-surveillance systems. "They know something's coming," Kaminsky observed grimly. "Those aren't passive defenses, they've deployed active jamming systems." In any normal operation, this would be the moment to abort, the combination of natural and artificial challenges, creating an environment where mission failure was virtually guaranteed. But this wasn't a normal operation, and the Nightshade drone wasn't normal technology. As interference levels peaked, the drone systems executed a remarkable transition. Instead of fighting against the electromagnetic disruption, the aircraft's AI actually incorporated the jamming signals into its sensor array, using the enemy's own countermeasures to create a more detailed picture of the operational environment. "It's working," Maya whispered, watching as the tactical display began populating with target signatures. "The adaptive systems are using their jamming against them." One by one, vehicles appeared on the tactical display, a convoy of 8 trucks moving in tight formation through the narrowest section of the pass. Their heat signatures were masked, their communications encrypted, and their exteriors designed to blend with the surrounding terrain. To any conventional surveillance, they would be nearly invisible. But to the Nightshade drone, they might as well have been broadcasting their positions with floodlights. The eye had not only defeated their concealment measures, but was actively cataloging each vehicle's function, based on subtle emission signatures and load distribution patterns. "Target classification complete," Maya announced, reviewing the data with growing confidence. "Vehicles 1 and 3 are carrying electronic warfare equipment. Vehicles 2, 5, and 6 are transporting explosive materials. Vehicles 4 and 7 appear to be personnel carriers. Vehicle 8 is command and control." Kaminsky leaned forward, studying the targeting solution being generated by the system. "Impressive precision. The AI is recommending a sequential strike pattern prioritizing the explosives transports first, then electronic warfare, then command and control." Maya nodded, recognizing the tactical logic. Neutralizing the explosives vehicles first prevents secondary detonations that could cause collateral damage beyond the target zone. With the targeting solution complete, the mission reached its critical ethical boundary. The autonomous systems had identified the targets, calculated the optimal strike pattern, and prepared all systems for engagement. But the final authorization, the decision to actually employ lethal force, required human confirmation. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what they were about to do. This wasn't a simulation or a demonstration. Real lives would end. But also, real lives would be saved if these weapons never reached their intended targets. "Phoenix Echo, verbal authorization required for weapons release," the system prompted, its synthesized voice calm and neutral. The operations center fell. Completely silent, all eyes on Maya. This was the moment that defined the entire Nightshade philosophy: advanced autonomous capability with human moral oversight. The technology could identify targets with unprecedented precision, but the decision to strike remained firmly in human hands. "I confirm weapons release authorization," Maya stated clearly. "Execute mission parameters." On the tactical display, the engagement unfolded with shocking speed and precision. The drone deployed multiple specialized munitions in rapid succession, each one striking its designated target with pinpoint accuracy despite the challenging conditions. Within 27 seconds, all 8 vehicles had been neutralized, their threat permanently removed. "Mission complete," the system announced. "All targets neutralized. Initiating return protocol." The operations center should have erupted in celebration. They had just accomplished something previously thought impossible, successfully engaging a heavily protected target in an environment specifically designed to defeat such attacks. Instead, a solemn quiet settled over the team. They had demonstrated the technology's effectiveness, but at a cost they all felt keenly. As the drone began its return journey, Kaminsky approached Maya, his expression troubled. "Satellite confirms complete mission success. No collateral damage, no survivors." Maya nodded, her eyes still fixed on the tactical display. The intelligence was correct. Those weapons would have killed hundreds, maybe thousands. "I know," Kaminsky agreed softly. "But it doesn't make this any easier." The sober mood was interrupted by an urgent alert from their security team. Multiple vehicles approaching the airstrip. Government plates, ETA 7 minutes. The peaceful aftermath they had hoped for was not to be. Someone had tracked them, either following Maya despite her evasion measures or tracing the specialized communications used during the operation. Wipe everything, Maya ordered immediately. Full sanitization protocol. The drone is the only thing that matters now. The team moved with practiced efficiency, systematically destroying all evidence of their operation. Hard drives were wiped, physical documents incinerated, and equipment disassembled. Nothing would remain that could definitively prove what had occurred. What about you? Kaminsky asked Maya as the minutes ticked down. They'll take you into custody. That's the plan, she replied calmly. I'm the distraction. While they're focused on me, the technology stays safe. Kaminsky looked troubled. They'll interrogate you. Possibly worse. Maya smiled slightly. I was chosen for Nightshade because I could build impossible technology and withstand impossible pressure. Trust me to do my job. As the sound of approaching vehicles grew louder, Maya performed one final act, activating a specialized program on her tablet that transmitted the drone's operational data to a secure server accessible only to former Nightshade team members. No matter what happened next, the proof of what they had accomplished would be preserved. Phoenix Echo standing down, she said quietly, handing the tablet to Kaminsky. Your turn now. When the government vehicles arrived, a mix of unmarked SUVs and military transport, they found only Maya sitting calmly in a folding chair on the otherwise empty airstrip. No drone, no team, no equipment, just one young woman who appeared to have been expecting them. A senior official in a suit that practically screamed federal agent approached her, flanked by armed personnel. Maya Rodriguez, you're being detained. Under National Security Directive 1742B for questioning, regarding unauthorized possession and deployment of classified military technology. Maya stood slowly, offering no resistance as they secured her hands with reinforced zip ties. I'm happy to answer any questions, she said with surprising equanimity. Though I think you'll find I'm just a systems analyst who enjoys building drones as a hobby. The agent's expression hardened. We know what happened in Arizona. We know about Nightshade. And we strongly suspect you just conducted an unauthorized military operation using classified technology. Maya looked at him with quiet confidence. Prove it. As they led her toward one of the vehicles, she glanced back at the empty airstrip, allowing herself a small smile. The drone was already halfway across the country. Its components would soon be distributed among former team members. Each piece meaningless on its own, but together forming the most advanced unmanned system ever developed. Sometimes, being captured was part of the mission. Sometimes, the most important victory was ensuring the right technology remained in the right hands, even if those hands weren't officially sanctioned. Have you ever made a personal sacrifice to protect something bigger than yourself? Something that could change lives if given the chance to exist. Type, I understand sacrifice, if you've ever put a greater purpose ahead of your own comfort or freedom. The true revolution in warfare wasn't just about technology. It was about who controlled that technology and the ethics that guided its use. Maya had just demonstrated that sometimes the most effective operators weren't the ones with the biggest budgets or the most impressive titles, but those with the vision to see possibilities others couldn't imagine and the courage to bring those possibilities to life. As the government vehicle drove away with Maya in custody, satellite imagery captured one final detail invisible to those on the ground: a small drone, no larger than a bird, followed at a discreet distance, its advanced systems focused exclusively on one goal: ensuring Maya Rodriguez would not remain in custody for long. The game was just beginning. The interrogation room was deliberately uncomfortable: hard metal chair, too bright fluorescent lighting, and temperature set just low enough to induce a constant chill. Standard psychological techniques designed to wear down resistance. For the past 72 hours, a rotating team of interrogators had questioned Maya relentlessly, allowing her only brief periods of sleep before beginning again. "Let's start from the beginning, Ms. Rodriguez," said the latest interrogator. A man in his 50s with cold eyes and the patience of someone who had broken far tougher subjects. Project Nightshade was officially terminated 18 months ago. All technology was supposedly surrendered, all research secured. Yet somehow, a drone with capabilities matching classified Nightshade parameters appears at a military testing facility. Then, coincidentally, a high-value terrorist target that had evaded conventional surveillance for months is mysteriously eliminated. Help me understand how these events are connected. Maya maintained the same calm demeanor she had shown since her detention began. "As I've explained repeatedly, I'm a systems analyst with an interest in drone technology. My demonstration in Arizona used commercially available components and open-source software. I have no knowledge of any terrorist target being eliminated." The interrogator slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos of her apartment, now completely dismantled, walls stripped to the studs, floorboards removed, every surface scanned with specialized equipment. Your apartment contained traces of advanced composite materials not available on the commercial market. Materials consistent with those used in Nightshade prototypes. That's not a coincidence, Ms. Rodriguez. I participate in robotics competitions, Maya replied evenly. Many competitors use donated materials from various sources. I can't verify the origin of every component. The man's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes hardened. We've interviewed your former colleagues from Nightshade. Most were genuinely surprised by recent events. They believed the project was truly terminated. But a few, Dr. Alan Kaminsky, for instance, seemed less surprised. Their reaction suggested prior knowledge. For the first time, Maya felt a flicker of concern. Bringing Kaminsky into this investigation complicated matters significantly. He was brilliant but not trained for this kind of pressure. The interrogator noticed her subtle reaction. "Ah, that got your attention. Perhaps we should focus our discussion on Dr. Kaminsky's involvement. He disappeared 24 hours ago, by the way. Didn't show up for classes, apartment empty, no digital footprint since yesterday morning." Maya carefully maintained her neutral expression, but internally she felt relief. Kaminsky had activated his emergency protocol, going completely off-grid using pre-established escape procedures developed during Nightshade's active period. Before the interrogator could continue, the door opened. A woman in a tailored suit entered without introducing herself, whispered something to the interrogator, and handed him a secure tablet. His expression changed as he reviewed whatever was. On the screen, first surprise, then carefully controlled anger. "Wait here," he told Maya, as if she had any choice in the matter. Both officials left the room, the heavy door locking automatically behind them. Alone for the first time in hours, Maya closed her eyes, using meditation techniques to center herself. The questioning had been intensive but predictable. They had no concrete evidence of her involvement in the drone strike, only circumstantial connections between her demonstration in Arizona and the subsequent military operation. More importantly, they had no access to the drone itself. Without the actual technology, they could prove nothing definitive. The door opened again, but instead of her previous interrogator, a different man entered, older, with silver hair and the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to assert his importance. Maya recognized him immediately, though she carefully hid her reaction. Admiral James Harrington, Director of Special Programs for the Department of Defense and the original authorizing official for Project Nightshade. "Ms. Rodriguez," he said, taking a seat across from her. "This has gone far enough." He placed a small device on the table and activated it. A soft hum filled the room, a signal jammer preventing any recording of their conversation. "I know exactly what happened," he continued, his voice low. "I know about the unauthorized continuation of Nightshade. I know about the distributed development approach your team adopted after official termination. And I know precisely what your drone did 3 days ago. Maya said nothing, maintaining the same calm silence she'd held throughout her detention. What you don't know, the Admiral continued, is why Nightshade was shut down in the first place. This caught Maya's attention. The official explanation had been budget constraints and ethical concerns about autonomous weapons development. Few had believed it, but no alternative explanation had ever emerged. Nightshade wasn't terminated because it failed, Admiral Harrington said, watching her carefully. It was terminated because it succeeded too well. The technology your team developed represented a fundamental shift in warfare capability, one that threatened decades of established defense industry contracts and military doctrine. He leaned forward slightly. Do you understand what I'm saying, Ms. Rodriguez? Your team created something too effective, too revolutionary. Something that would have made billions of dollars of existing military hardware instantly obsolete. The political and industrial pressure to shut it down was overwhelming. Maya finally broke her silence. We were creating technology to save lives, both civilian and military. Technology that could eliminate threats with unprecedented precision while minimizing collateral damage. How is that a problem? It's a problem, the Admiral replied, when your annual budget is less than what major defense contractors spend on executive bonuses. It's a problem when generals have built entire careers around conventional warfare systems that your technology would render irrelevant. It's a problem when politicians receive campaign contributions from companies whose stock prices would plummet if Nightshade capabilities were fully deployed. He sighed, suddenly looking every year of his age. I fought to keep the program alive. I lost that fight. But I never believed the technology should be abandoned. Maya studied him carefully, trying to determine if this was an elaborate interrogation, technique, or a genuine revelation. Why are you telling me this now? The Admiral smiled slightly. Because 3 days ago, your team did something I couldn't do through official channels. You demonstrated the technology's effectiveness in a real-world scenario with zero collateral damage against a high-value target that conventional systems couldn't touch. And you did it in a way that created exactly the right kind of attention. He tapped the signal jammer to ensure it was still functioning. That supply line your drone eliminated? It was moving materials for an attack that would have killed hundreds, possibly thousands. An attack we knew was coming but couldn't stop. Through conventional means because of political constraints and technological limitations. So what happens now? Maya asked, still cautious despite the Admiral's apparent candor. Now, he said, standing up, you have a choice to make. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to leave this room. 5 minutes later, there will be a security incident requiring evacuation of this facility. During that evacuation, certain doors that would normally be locked will temporarily malfunction. What you do with that opportunity is entirely up to you. He moved toward the door, then paused. But before I go, I want you to know that if you choose to disappear, there are resources available to you. An account has been established at Grand Cayman National Bank. The access codes are the same as the initialization sequence for the Nightshade prototype you designed 2 years ago. Maya's eyes widened slightly. That sequence was known only to her and had never been documented in any official record. Why would you help me escape? She asked, genuinely confused. You're risking your career, possibly worse. The Admiral's expression became deadly serious. Because I believe the technology you and your team developed represents the future of conflict resolution in an increasingly unstable world. And I believe that technology is safer in your hands than locked away in a government vault or exploited by private military contractors. He deactivated the signal jammer and pocketed it. For the record, this conversation never happened. I came in here to inform you that you're being transferred to a different facility tomorrow morning. Nothing more. With that, he left, the door locking automatically behind him. Exactly 5 minutes later, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lights flashed as an automated voice announced, "Security breach detected. All personnel proceed to designated evacuation points. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." The door to Maya's interrogation room suddenly unlocked. With an electronic click, she hesitated only briefly before making her decision. The Admiral's unexpected support suggested possibilities she hadn't considered, that there were people within the system who understood the importance of what Nightshade had created and were willing to protect it, even against official policy. Moving quickly but calmly, Maya navigated the evacuation routes, blending with the flow of personnel heading toward the exits. Security was focused on containing whatever breach had triggered the alarms, paying little attention to one more person. In the crowd, near a side exit, she noticed a maintenance worker who made brief but deliberate eye contact before turning down a service corridor. Following her instincts, Maya followed at a discreet distance. The corridor led to a loading dock where a delivery van stood waiting, its engine running. The maintenance worker opened the rear doors, then walked away without looking back. Inside the van, Maya found civilian clothes, identification documents, and a secure phone. All the essentials for someone needing to disappear quickly. 20 minutes later, the van crossed the facility perimeter during the confusion of the security incident. By the time her absence was discovered, Maya was already miles away, the van abandoned and her trail effectively cold. The secure phone activated with a message, "Safe house established. Coordinates follow. Team awaiting your arrival." So the Admiral wasn't working alone. There was an entire support network in place, people who believed in Nightshade's mission, enough to risk their careers, possibly their freedom, to ensure its continuation. 3 days later, Maya approached a remote lakeside cabin in the mountains of northern Idaho. To casual observation, it appeared to be nothing more than a vacation property, comfortable but unremarkable. The reality was far different. As she entered, she found not just Kamensky but 5 other former Nightshade team members, the core specialists who had continued development after official termination. The cabin's rustic exterior concealed a sophisticated operations center built into the lower level, with advanced communications equipment, developmental workstations, and holographic display systems. "Welcome to Nightshade Actual," Kaminsky said. With a smile, the real program, not the official one. Maya looked around in amazement. "How long has this been in place?" "Since before official termination," replied Dr. Sarah Chun, their quantum computing specialist. "Some of us suspected what was coming and prepared accordingly. We've been working in distributed cells, sharing developments through encrypted channels, waiting for the right moment to demonstrate what we've accomplished." Kaminsky guided Maya to the central display, which showed a comprehensive intelligence briefing, satellite imagery, communication intercepts, and analytical reports from sources that certainly weren't public. "That's the part we didn't tell you before," he admitted. "We have support from within the system. People like Admiral Harrington who believe in what we're doing. They provide intelligence, resources, and occasionally, intervention when things get complicated. Like a convenient security incident." "During my interrogation," Maya observed. "Exactly," Kaminsky nodded. "But now comes the real decision. Your drone demonstration and the subsequent operation have created exactly the kind of attention we needed. There are serious discussions happening at the highest levels about reinstating the program officially." "But," Maya prompted, sensing the complication, "but if that happens, we lose control. The technology goes back into the system that shut it down before. The same political pressures, the same industrial influences that terminated Nightshade originally would eventually reassert themselves." He gestured around the room. "Or we continue like this, independent, unofficial, answering to our own ethical standards rather than political expediency. We'd have limited resources but complete operational freedom. Maya considered the options carefully. What about a third alternative? We create a private entity, not military, not government, that develops and deploys this technology under strict ethical guidelines. We choose our missions, we determine acceptable use, and we maintain control of the core technology. The team exchanged glances considering the radical proposal. It would require significant funding, Dr. Chun pointed out, and protection from both legal challenges and physical threats. The funding is apparently handled, Maya replied, explaining about the account Admiral Harrington had mentioned. As for protection, I think we already have it from people inside the system who believe in what we're doing. Over the next several hours, the team debated the proposal intensely, examining it from every angle: ethical, operational, technical, and strategic. By morning, a consensus had emerged. They would establish an independent organization operating outside traditional government and military structures, but maintaining select relationships with supporters within those systems. Their mission would be focused on precision intervention in situations where conventional approaches had failed or were constrained by political limitations, terrorist threats, hostage situations, critical infrastructure protection. Always with the core principle of minimizing collateral damage and preserving innocent life. 2 months later, a nondescript office building in Seattle housed the newly established Advanced Systems Research Institute, the public face of what the team still called Nightshade among themselves. On paper, it was a technology innovation company specializing in autonomous systems for various commercial applications. In reality, it was something far more significant. Maya stood at the window of her new office, looking out at the city below. Her journey from underestimated systems analyst to the director of a covert advanced technology organization had been unlikely and dangerous, but driven by a consistent purpose: creating technology that could save lives when nothing else could. A notification appeared on her secure tablet, a priority intelligence briefing from one of their sources within the defense establishment. A hostage situation in a remote region had deteriorated, with conventional military options deemed too risky due to the presence of civilian captives. The estimated survival probability using standard rescue protocols was below 20%. Dr. Rodriguez, her assistant, called from the doorway. The team is assembled in the operations center. They're ready when you are. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. This wasn't a demonstration or a test. Real lives hung in the balance, both the hostages and the team members who would execute the mission using technology still considered classified by most government agencies. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes," she replied, her voice steady and confident. In the operations center, the team had already begun preliminary mission planning. Satellite imagery displayed on large screens showed the target location, while specialized AI systems ran continuous simulations to identify optimal approach vectors and intervention strategies. "What are we looking at?" Maya asked as she entered. 17 hostages, including 3 children," Kaminsky replied, his expression grim. "Held in a compound with significant defensive measures, observation posts, electronic surveillance, improvised explosives around the perimeter. Conventional special forces approach has been assessed as high risk due to the probability of hostage casualties during initial breach." Maya studied the tactical display, her mind already calculating possibilities. "What's our alternative?" Dr. Chun stepped forward. "We've developed a new variant of the drone system, smaller, faster, with enhanced stealth capabilities and specialized non-lethal intervention options. It can penetrate the defensive perimeter without detection, neutralize the threat elements with precision, and secure the hostages until extraction forces arrive." "Simulation success probability?" Maya asked. 87% for complete." Mission success with 0 hostage casualties, Chun replied. That's more than 4 times higher than conventional approaches. Maya nodded, making her decision. Prepare for deployment. Full team briefing in 30 minutes. We launch in 3 hours. As the team dispersed to their stations, Kaminsky remained behind. You know what this means, right? This mission will establish exactly what we are. Not just a research institute, but an operational entity willing to intervene when conventional options fail. That's the point, Maya replied quietly. The world needs to know there are alternatives. To accepting unacceptable outcomes, that technology can change the equations that too often lead to tragic compromises. And if we succeed? Kaminsky asked. Maya smiled slightly. If we succeed, we prove that sometimes the most powerful innovations don't come from massive government programs or billion-dollar defense contractors. They come from people who were underestimated, dismissed, and told their ideas were impossible. People who refused to accept those limitations. She turned back to the tactical display, studying the mission parameters with intense focus. The greatest breakthroughs often come from those with nothing to lose and everything to prove. That's what they never understood when they shut down Nightshade. They thought they were terminating a program, but they were actually setting something much more powerful free. Later that evening, as final mission preparations were underway, Maya took a moment alone in her office. On her desk sat a small drone component, a custom circuit board she had built by hand during the earliest days of Nightshade development. It served as a reminder of how far they had come and why they had taken this extraordinary path. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Admiral Harrington entered, closing the door behind him. I understand you're preparing for your first official operation, he said without preamble. Maya raised an eyebrow. I wasn't aware we had official operations. Perhaps sanctioned would be a better term, the Admiral replied with a slight smile. There are those of us who recognize that sometimes the conventional channels are too constrained to do what needs to be done. He placed a small drive on her desk. This contains additional intelligence on the target location, material. Too sensitive to transmit even through secure channels. It should improve your operational planning. Maya studied him carefully. Why are you really here, Admiral? This could have been delivered by a courier. Harrington sighed, his official persona dropping away to reveal genuine concern. I'm here to make sure you understand what you're becoming. This isn't just about technology anymore. You're establishing a new paradigm, intervention capabilities outside traditional command structures. That's revolutionary and dangerous. Dangerous to whom? Maya challenged. To the defense contractors whose overpriced, underperforming systems were making obsolete? To the military bureaucracy that values procedure over effectiveness? Or to the political establishment that prioritizes optics over actual outcomes? All of the above, Harrington acknowledged. Plus dangerous to you and your team personally. Once you demonstrate what you can do, you'll become both a resource everyone wants to control and a threat everyone wants to neutralize. Maya absorbed this warning, recognizing its validity. So what's your advice? Stand down? Accept the limitations of conventional approaches, even when they mean innocent people die? No, the Admiral replied firmly. My advice is to succeed so completely, so unambiguously, that your results speak for themselves. Create outcomes so superior to conventional methods that even your detractors can't deny your value. He moved toward the door, then turned back. Throughout history, true innovation has rarely come from within established systems. It comes from the outsiders, the people who see possibilities others can't imagine or won't pursue. Your team represents that kind of innovation, not just in technology but in how we approach seemingly impossible challenges. With that, he departed, leaving Maya with both the intelligence he'd provided and the weight of his warning. As she rejoined her team in the operations center, Maya felt a profound sense of purpose. They were about to demonstrate that sometimes the most powerful force for change isn't a massive institution with unlimited resources. It's a small group of dedicated individuals with the vision to see beyond conventional limitations and the courage to act on that vision. "Status report," she called out as she entered. "Drone systems at 100%, reported the technical team. Deployment vehicle in position, weather conditions optimal. All mission parameters green." Maya looked around at the team. Brilliant minds who had been underestimated, dismissed, or constrained by conventional thinking. People who had chosen a difficult, dangerous path because they believed in creating something that could change what was possible. "Let's show them what happens when you underestimate the quiet ones," she said, initiating the final launch sequence. "Let's rewrite the rules." As the mission commenced, Maya thought about all the people throughout history whose ideas had been dismissed as impossible until they proved otherwise. The greatest innovations rarely came from those with the most resources or the loudest voices. They came from those who saw possibilities where others saw only limitations. Have you ever pursued a vision that others dismissed as impossible? Have you felt that burning certainty that you could create something revolutionary if only given the chance? Type, "I believe in possibility," if you've ever been the person who saw potential where others saw only obstacles. The greatest power we possess isn't physical strength or official authority. It's the courage to imagine something better and the persistence to make that vision reality, even when the entire world tells you it can't be done. 3 years after the formation of the Advanced Systems Research Institute, Maya stood on the rooftop of their new headquarters, a converted industrial building in Seattle's tech district that balanced the need for security with the appearance of a typical innovation company. The evening skyline sparkled before her, a sharp contrast to the tense atmosphere inside, where her team monitored their most challenging operation yet. 27 successful missions had established their reputation among the select government and military officials aware of their existence. 27 impossible situations resolved with minimal casualties and unprecedented precision. But this mission was different. The stakes higher, the obstacles more formidable, and the opposition more dangerous than anything they had previously encountered. "Dr. Rodriguez," came Kaminsky's voice through her earpiece. "The final briefing is ready. Everyone's assembled." Maya took one last moment of solitude before heading down to the operations center. The weight of leadership had changed her over these years, her once hesitant demeanor replaced by quiet, assured confidence. The same brilliant mind that had built impossible technology now guided an organization operating in the shadows between official agencies and outside conventional authority structures. The operations center hummed with focused energy as analysts monitored global situations, engineers refined their revolutionary technology, and mission specialists prepared for deployment. What had begun as a small team working from a remote cabin had evolved into a sophisticated organization with capabilities exceeding many government agencies. "Status report," Maya said as she entered, her voice instantly commanding attention despite its soft tone. "Target confirmation at 97% confidence," reported their intelligence chief, a former CI analyst who had joined after witnessing their effectiveness firsthand during a hostage rescue. "The supply line has been tracked across 3 countries, using 7 different transportation methods, with personnel exchanges at every transfer point." The central display showed a complex network of routes converging on a single destination, a supposedly abandoned industrial facility in Eastern Europe that satellite imagery revealed was actually a sophisticated weapons development center. "What makes this target different from our previous operations?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. This question was part of their standard protocol, ensuring every team member understood the unique challenges of each mission. 3 key factors, responded Dr. Chun, now their Chief Technology Officer. First, unprecedented security measures including next-generation counter-drone systems, specifically designed to detect and disable advanced UAVs. Second, the facility is partially underground with heavily reinforced construction that would withstand conventional strikes. Third, we have confirmation that the organization operating this facility has obtained partial nightshade specifications. This last point had been the most alarming discovery. Somehow, technical details of their drone technology had leaked, not enough to replicate their systems entirely, but sufficient to develop specialized countermeasures. Source of the leak? Maya asked, her expression revealing nothing of her concern. Still undetermined, Kaminsky replied. But the evidence suggests it came from within the defense establishment, possibly someone with access to the original classified files who recognize similarities between our operational patterns and nightshade capabilities. Maya nodded, absorbing this complication. So we're facing an adversary who knows what to look for and has built specific defenses against our technology. This changes the equation significantly. The team waited for her decision. Standard operating procedure would suggest postponing the mission, developing new approaches, perhaps even creating entirely new technology that wouldn't be vulnerable to these countermeasures. That would be the safe choice. But safety wasn't. Why they had created this organization? We proceed as planned, Maya stated firmly. But with modifications. This isn't just about neutralizing a threat anymore. It's about demonstrating that even when our adversaries think they understand our capabilities, they've only seen the surface of what's possible. She turned to their chief engineer. Deploy the Ghost Protocol. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Ghost Protocol was their most advanced system, a complete reinvention of their drone technology that they had developed but never deployed operationally. It represented not just an improvement, but a fundamental evolution in approach. Are you certain? Kaminsky asked quietly. Ghost hasn't completed all field validation tests. There are still unknown variables, which makes it perfect for this scenario, Maya replied. They've prepared for what they think we can do. They haven't prepared for what we've never shown before. The next 12 hours were a blur of intensive preparation. While standard operations were methodical and carefully structured, Ghost Protocol required a different approach, adaptive, responsive, embracing uncertainty rather than eliminating it. At the heart of this new approach was a revolutionary concept. Instead of a single advanced drone, Ghost deployed a swarm of micro-drones, each no larger than a hummingbird, operating with collective intelligence that allowed them to adapt to countermeasures in real time. No individual drone carried significant capability, but together, they formed a system more versatile and resilient than anything they had previously deployed. As launch time approached, Maya gathered the team for a final briefing. The atmosphere was tense but focused, everyone understanding that this mission would either establish their ability to overcome even specialized opposition or expose a critical vulnerability. I want to address something directly, Maya began, her voice steady. The leak of our technical specifications represents the first significant security breach we've experienced. It's natural to feel concern, even doubt. But I want you to consider a different perspective. She moved to the central display, bringing up images of their previous operations, hostages rescued, terrorist threats neutralized, critical infrastructure protected. Everything we've accomplished has been built on the principle that innovation thrives on challenge. Each obstacle forces evolution. Each limitation inspires creativity. Her eyes moved across the team, meeting each person's gaze. Directly, our adversaries believe they've gained an advantage by learning aspects of our technology. What they don't understand is that they've actually given us something invaluable, the opportunity to demonstrate that our true strength isn't any specific system or approach. It's our ability to continuously reinvent what's possible. The tension in the room shifted subtly, concern transforming into determined focus. Today isn't just another mission, Maya continued. It's a statement about who we are and why we exist. When conventional thinking said these problems couldn't be solved, we found solutions. When official channels said these threats couldn't be neutralized without unacceptable casualties, we proved otherwise. And now, when our adversaries think they've figured out how to counter us, we'll show them that understanding our past doesn't prepare them for our future. She nodded to the mission controller, who initiated the deployment sequence. On the main display, satellite imagery showed their launch vehicle, disguised as a commercial cargo aircraft, approaching the first deployment point. Unlike their previous operations where a single advanced drone would be deployed directly, Ghost Protocol utilized a distributed approach. The micro-drones would be released at multiple points surrounding the target area, approaching from different vectors, at different altitudes with varied timing, making comprehensive detection virtually impossible. First wave deployment complete, reported the mission controller as the initial group of micro-drones separated from the launch vehicle. Systems nominal, swarm cohesion at 100%. On tactical displays, the micro-drones appeared as a cloud of tiny signatures, barely distinguishable from natural phenomena like bird flocks or insect swarms. They moved with organic patterns specifically designed to defeat pattern recognition algorithms in counter-drone systems. Approaching outer security perimeter, the controller announced, tension evident in her voice. Counter-drone systems active. Multiple scanning frequencies detected. This was the first critical test. If their adversaries' countermeasures could detect the micro-drones, the entire operation would be compromised before it truly began. The room fell silent as everyone watched the tactical display. The counter-drone systems appeared as overlapping detection fields surrounding the FACILITY sophisticated technology specifically designed to identify and neutralize advanced unmanned aircraft. Swarm adapting approach patterns, the controller reported. Mimicry protocols engaged. On the display, the micro-drone signatures began to blend with environmental elements, some adopting the movement patterns of local birds, others matching insect behaviors, still others drifting with air currents like seed pods or pollen. No longer a cohesive swarm, they became indistinguishable from the natural environment. Outer perimeter penetration successful, came the report. No detection alerts observed. Proceeding to Phase 2. Maya exchanged a quick glance with Kaminsky, both recognizing the significance of this initial success. The theory behind Ghost Protocol, that numerous simple elements could overcome sophisticated countermeasures through adaptation and environmental mimicry, was proving valid in actual deployment. As the operation progressed, the micro-drones infiltrated deeper into the facility's security layers. Unlike conventional drones that would attack defenses directly, the swarms simply flowed around obstacles like water finding paths through rock. Where electronic countermeasures created barriers, the micro-drones adjusted their approach. Where physical defenses blocked access, they found alternative routes. Reaching primary target zone, the controller announced. Beginning facility mapping and threat assessment. The main display shifted to show a three-dimensional rendering of the facility being constructed in real time as the micro-drones gathered data. Layer by layer, the hidden elements of the Weapons Development Center were revealed. Underground laboratories, testing chambers, storage areas for materials, and most critically, the supply line infrastructure that kept the operation functioning. Complete facility visualization achieved, reported the analysis team, identifying critical nodes and vulnerability points. This was the true power of Ghost Protocol, not just the ability to penetrate defenses, but to gather comprehensive intelligence that would have been impossible through conventional means. Each micro-drone contributed a small piece of data, but collectively, they created a complete picture that revealed exactly how the facility operated. Strategic analysis complete, the the lead analyst announced. We've identified 17 critical nodes where precision intervention would render the entire operation non-functional without risk to surrounding civilian infrastructure. Maya studied the analysis carefully. Recommended approach: targeted neutralization of power distribution systems, communications infrastructure, and specialized equipment. The facility utilizes a unique cooling system for their development processes. Disabling that alone would force immediate shutdown of all weapons production. She nodded, making her decision. Execute precision intervention. Priority on systems disruption rather than structural damage. I want this facility rendered permanently non-functional, but with minimal physical destruction. The operations team initiated the final phase, transforming the information-gathering swarm into a precision intervention force. Each micro-drone now moved to specific targets within the facility, carrying specialized payloads designed for exactly this purpose. Intervention commencing, reported the mission controller. Estimated completion time 4 minutes 17 seconds. On monitors throughout the operations center, team members watched as the micro-drones executed their tasks with surgical precision. Power systems short-circuited in carefully orchestrated sequences. Communication arrays failed simultaneously across multiple frequencies. Cooling systems seized as microscopic particles introduced into lubricants caused immediate mechanical failure. Within the facility, alarms would be blaring as systems failed cascadingly, but the personnel would find no obvious cause, no explosion, no conventional attack, no clear point of failure to address. The sophisticated operation that had taken years to establish was collapsing from within, targeted at its most vulnerable points by an enemy they couldn't see or counter. Intervention complete, announced the controller. Facility systems collapse. Confirmed. All micro-drones initiating self-dissolution protocols. This final element of Ghost Protocol was perhaps its most revolutionary aspect. After completing their mission, the micro-drones didn't return or remain as evidence. Instead, they activated a chemical process that broke down their components into unidentifiable organic matter, leaving no technological signature that could be studied or reverse-engineered. As confirmation data streamed in, the operations center should have erupted in celebration. They had just executed their most challenging mission against an adversary specifically prepared for their technology, and succeeded completely, instead. A quiet sense of accomplishment settled over the team, the satisfaction of professionals who had overcome extraordinary obstacles through innovation rather than brute force. Maya moved through the room, acknowledging each team member's contribution with a nod or brief word of appreciation. This success belonged to all of them, not just the technology they had created, but the organizational culture that made such innovation possible. Later that evening, after the detailed mission analysis was complete and the team had dispersed, Maya found herself again on the rooftop, looking out at the city lights. Kaminsky joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Quite a statement we made today," he said, handing her one of the cups. Maya nodded, her expression thoughtful. "But not the one our adversaries will understand initially. They'll focus on how we defeated their countermeasures, trying to develop new defenses against Ghost Protocol specifically. Missing the larger point entirely," Kaminsky agreed. "That the true innovation isn't any particular system or approach. It's the mindset," Maya finished. "The willingness to continuously reinvent, to never become attached to any single solution or methodology." They stood in companionable silence for a moment, sipping their coffee and contemplating the implication of what they had built together. "I've been thinking about our origin story," Maya said finally. "About that day in Arizona when they all laughed at my homemade drone. About how everyone assumed they knew my capabilities based on appearances and expectations." Kaminsky smiled slightly. "And now you've built an organization that has repeatedly done what government agencies and military contractors with virtually unlimited resources, said was impossible. That's the real lesson in all of this, Maya replied. The most powerful force for change isn't money or authority or established expertise. It's the perspective of someone who hasn't accepted the conventional limitations, someone who sees possibilities others have dismissed. She turned to face him directly. Remember what you told me when we first discussed creating this organization. That true innovation rarely comes from within established systems. You were right, but not just about technology. It's true about people too. The outsiders, the underestimated, the ones dismissed as unrealistic or impractical, Kaminsky nodded. History is shaped by those who refuse to accept the boundaries others tried to impose on what's possible. A notification chimed softly on Maya's secure phone, an intelligence update about the aftermath of their operation. The weapons development facility had been completely abandoned, its personnel scattered, its technological infrastructure rendered useless. More importantly, 3 other similar operations had suddenly shut down, their organizers recognizing the new vulnerability they faced from an adversary they couldn't predict or counter. One successful intervention creates ripple effects far beyond the immediate target, Maya observed. When you demonstrate that something previously thought impossible is actually achievable, you change the calculation for everyone. This principle extended far beyond their covert operations. Every time someone overcame artificial limitations or arbitrary barriers, they created new possibilities not just for themselves, but for everyone who followed. Every breakthrough, whether technological, social, or personal, expanded the boundaries of what others could imagine achieving. So what's next for us? Kaminsky asked. Ghost Protocol succeeded beyond our most optimistic projections. Where do we go from here? Maya smiled, an expression that combined satisfaction with the anticipation of new challenges. We do what we've always done. We identify the problems others have declared unsolvable, the threats others have accepted as inevitable, and we create solutions no one else has imagined. She gestured toward the operations center below. But we also need to think about legacy, about creating a framework that ensures this approach continues even if we're no longer leading it. The principles we've established, that innovation thrives on challenge, that limitation inspires creativity, that the most revolutionary ideas often come from unexpected sources, these need to outlast any particular technology or mission. You're thinking about the future, Kaminsky observed. I'm thinking about impact, Maya corrected. About creating ripple effects that continue expanding long after the initial action. About building something that inspires others to see beyond conventional boundaries in their own fields, their own challenges. This was perhaps the most profound aspect of their journey, not just what they had accomplished directly, but how their example might influence others facing different, but equally daunting obstacles. Every time someone succeeded where failure was expected, they created a reference point that changed what others believed possible. As dawn approached, Maya reviewed the core insights their experience had revealed. True innovation often comes from those who have been underestimated or dismissed, people whose perspective hasn't been limited by conventional thinking. The greatest breakthroughs rarely emerge from abundant resources or established expertise, but from the creativity inspired by constraints and the determination born from having nothing to lose. When conventional systems declare certain problems unsolvable or certain goals unachievable, that's often where the most significant opportunities for revolutionary change exist. Adapting is more powerful than overpowering, finding creative ways around obstacles rather than trying to force through them directly. The most effective response to being underestimated isn't resentment but demonstration, showing through. Results what words alone cannot convey. 6 months after the Ghost Protocol mission, a small package arrived at Maya's office. Inside was a newspaper clipping, an article about a teenage girl from a struggling community who had built a water Filtration system from discarded materials after experts had declared clean water access impossible without major infrastructure investment. The girl's innovation was now being implemented in communities around the world. Paper clipped to the article was a handwritten note. She reminds me of someone else who refused to accept artificial limitations. Thought you'd appreciate seeing your ripple effects in action. J.H. Maya smiled, recognizing Admiral Harrington's initials. The connection was clear. Their work had inspired others far beyond their immediate operational sphere, creating a cascade of innovations by people who might otherwise have accepted the boundaries others had established. That evening, she gathered her core team for an important announcement. As they assembled in the conference room, curiosity evident on their faces, Maya activated the room's security protocols, ensuring complete privacy. For 3 years we've operated in the shadows, she began, demonstrating capabilities that conventional thinking declared impossible, resolving situations others had accepted as unsolvable. We've proven repeatedly that innovation thrives when freed from artificial constraints. She paused, looking at each team member individually. Now it's time for our next evolution. Not just developing new technology or executing more challenging missions, but creating a framework that enables others to apply our approach in different contexts. On the main display, she brought up plans for what they had codenamed Phoenix Initiative, a program to identify and support innovators from unconventional backgrounds, who were tackling significant challenges without the resources or credentials typically considered necessary. We'll continue our core operations, Maya explained, but we'll also begin cultivating the next generation of boundary-breaking thinkers, people who see possibilities others have dismissed, who approach problems from perspectives established experts wouldn't consider. The team's response was immediate and enthusiastic. They recognized that this expansion represented not a dilution of their mission, but its natural evolution, from demonstrating what was possible to enabling others to create their own breakthroughs. As the discussion continued, Maya reflected on how far they had come from that day in Arizona, when her small drone had been mocked by people who couldn't see beyond their preconceptions. The journey had never been about proving others wrong. It had been about proving what was possible when you refused to accept artificial limitations. Have you ever been told something was impossible, only to find a way to make it happen anyway? Have you ever created a solution using approaches the experts had overlooked or dismissed? Type limitations are just invitations to innovate if you've experienced the unique satisfaction of achieving what others declared unachievable. The most powerful force for change has never been authority or resources or established expertise. It's the perspective of someone who looks at seemingly insurmountable obstacles and sees not barriers but puzzles waiting to be solved. Someone who understands that today's impossible is often tomorrow's breakthrough, waiting for the right mind to make it reality. Maya's story wasn't just about advanced technology or covert operations. It was about the extraordinary potential that exists in those who have been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, the quiet revolutionaries whose greatest strength lies in seeing possibilities others can't yet imagine. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.